Hi, today is April 29th, 2025, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 659 for the year, Texture. The textured background on the app on my phone that I use to record songs reminds me a bit of the Fear of Music album cover by Talking Heads, Bumpy, embossed. George Harrison made an album called Extra Texture, but the cover of that album didn't have any odd or extra texture, which was a bit disappointing to me at the time. Texture is a very textural word. I can feel it when I say it. It's kind of sensuous, too. Your miles may vary, of course, but my miles are my miles. They are what they are. Poem number 660, Lecture. It was almost exciting how boring the lecture was. He was on the edge of his seat through the entire thing, in part to keep from dozing off, and in part because he was stunned at how stultifying it was. How does one talk so slowly and monotonously without wanting to slap oneself in the face, he wondered. Is everyone else here as bored as I am by this boring lecture, or is anybody actually enjoying this? He didn't notice any excessive coughing or shifting around in the seats that one would normally notice when an audience is bored. But how could they be interested, he wondered. After another 43 minutes that felt like 100,000 years, the lecturer said thank you to applause that was more than polite, but less than effusive, certainly not boisterous. After the lecture, the very beautiful woman who had been sitting next to him smiled and said, "Wasn't that great? He's speaking here again next month. Are you going?" "Of course I am," he said. "Of course I am." Poem number 661, Western. Suddenly he found himself in a Western. He was sheriff in a small Wyoming town where the horses had taken over. He had been locked up in the little jailhouse with no means of escape. His plan to convince the horses that he was on their side and that if they would just let him go he could be their sheriff had an obvious flaw. The horses couldn't release him from his cell because it was locked, and they couldn't use the key because they had no fingers or thumbs, only hooves. The Western ended like a Twilight Zone episode with the sheriff apparently imprisoned forever. Poem number 662, Wesson. He liked to bathe in Wesson oil, although perhaps bathe is not the right term, as he would have to bathe himself again using conventional soap and water after his Wesson oil bath. Perhaps the first bath would more rightly be called an immersion. He would dim the lights, light some candles, play some ethereal, meditative music, and stay quiet for 30 minutes or so, and then pull the plug and experience his oiliness, his slimy slipperiness, and his downright dirtiness. Then he'd run another bath, this time with water, and scrub himself down. Often before the second bath, he imagined rolling around in breadcrumbs and hopping into the oven and baking. But he never did that. He just washed himself clean and went out to greet the day, feeling smooth and still a little oily from the Wesson. And the last poem of the day, poem number 663, Lesson. He learned his lesson the hard way. It was a simple geometry lesson, but he had earplugs in and earmuffs over the earplugs, and he was hanging upside down from the ceiling, and he was being lightly beaten with cricket bats in a room full of thousands of crickets. Still, he learned the lesson. He learned it the hard way, but it would have been even harder, possibly impossible, if he had been blindfolded. All right, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate you.